Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for our webinar at relink.org. We have two presenters that are going to be presenting today. Lewis Fields is going to be sharing a little bit about his story and his Builders program. And we also have Rick Williams, who's going to be sharing his story along with what he does at Truly Reaching You Ministries and a little bit about what their program offers. So our goal today is that you'll be able to hear how they are telling what worked in their life and how they were able to re-enter successfully back into society, and just addressing some of those issues to prevent recidivism and ensure that people thrive. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what we do at relink.org. So we're a database and we have over 10,000 different resources in the state of Ohio. And we have everything from people who are looking for rehab and treatment centers, detox centers, to meaningful employment, and people that are looking for housing, affordable housing in different areas. And the way that you can use Relink, anybody can use it. You can use it from your cell phone or from your laptop, is you just click on relink.org and you enter your location. So you can look in your zip code, or if somebody that you're helping, or even if you're looking yourself for resources, you can enter a different zip code. That's one great thing, is that we have resources in all 88 counties and we work really hard to keep those up to date. So you can put a zip code in and then go and choose a category. So we have all different categories: addiction services, reentry, basic needs is a big one that people are looking for if they're looking for clothing, or places that are offering furniture or food pantries. And then as you go through, you'll see different options. You can click through, and if you check off the boxes to the left, you can even print the different options that you get. So it'll give all the information about the provider, their phone number, their website, how you can contact them. If you would like to list your services, or if you're a provider and you're not currently on relink.org, we are always wanting to add new services and people in the area. So you can go on yourself and you can register. You just go onto on our main screen where it says register, and then you can create an account and you can use your credentials and log in and click under new, under provider information, and you'll be able to become a user. You can update your data that way. And Bill, who does a great job at entering data at relink.org, is happy to help if you have any questions, or if you need anything or need to edit anything. So first we are going to start with Lewis, and he's going to be talking about his Builders program. He has 2 sets of 8-week courses, and his email is up on the screen if you'd like to contact him after this webinar. And then he will be turning it over to Rick, who, what's the wrong way? There we go. From Truly Reaching You Ministries, and his email is on the screen as well. If you'd like to contact him, he'd be happy to help give you information. And if you'd like to contact relink.org, here's our information as far as our address, our phone number, and the website. If you have any questions for us directly, you can email us at info@relink.org. So I'm going to turn it over to Lewis and let him start sharing a little bit about his Builders program.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Barbara. My name is Lewis Fields. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks to Rick being on this panel with me. I'm going to talk about being Rick a little later. But hello to everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, afternoon, evening. When I was a young kid, I used to love to ride. I used to love to ride in the car, and I would watch my parents and my grandparents. I was blessed to be around all my grandparents, my parents, and I would watch them drive. I remember when I was a little kid, I was in elementary school, and this was back in the 80s. So I was probably supposed to be in a car seat. So I'm sitting there with all my little snow gear on. They warming the car up. They had put me in the car to take me to school. So the car was warming up. So I'm sitting out in the parking lot in the car. And I decided that morning I was going to drive. I decided I was going, hop in the driver's seat. I had watched them numerous of times. I had watched them put their foot on the one pedal, and then they pulled a big lever. This is, old car. Pulled a big lever down. So I decided this morning I'm going to hop in the driver's seat, and I'm going to pull the lever. So I do that. And the car starts to move. I instantly have a panic. I'm stuck with fear. I'm overwhelmed. I'm shocked. I'm like, oh my God, the car is moving. I had no idea to what the next step was. So the reason why I tell that story is to set up at the core of what Builders is about. As a child, I had watched others pull the lever, step on the pedal, and the car starts moving. I had no idea why they were doing it, how to do it. I was too small to see over the window. I was too small to control the car. I didn't know that my foot had to coordinate with the steering wheel. I had no skills. I had nothing in the middle. I had no skills, no understanding, no comprehension of how to drive. All I had done is I had watched it, and I saw the tactic. I saw how to initiate it, how to begin. The reason why I tell that story is this is what Builders is about. Well, I did 23 years and 1 month in prison from the age of 19 to the age of 43. What I realized about the program that the ODRC gave us was the programming is great. The programming changed my life. I became a man in prison. I'm talking about excellent programming. And then in the work that I do with the Marshall Project now, I have to look at other states, Louisiana, California, New York, Mississippi, and the things they're doing in their criminal justice reform processes. And I'm realizing Ohio is a leader in reentry. The programming that we got in the ODRC, you ain't getting that nowhere else. You're not getting it anywhere else. So it's not a problem with the program. It's not a problem with the reentry providers. There are many providers. I have connections in Cleveland and Akron and Youngstown, Columbus. There are people everywhere that's willing to help. This is why we're here on this call today. So what's the issue? Why is it I'll take the programming? The program will completely change my life. I'll go on to affect others' lives based on what I learned. Then there's the majority who will take those same programs, go through the same training, get the CDL, they'll take Edwin's Culinary, they'll take all the great programming that we have at the ODRC, but the outcomes aren't the same. We hear the horror stories. Oh, so-and-so's back in prison. And your heart aches. He's like, hey, he was really doing well. He was really getting it. He had got out and he was doing all the right things. So there's a gap. The gap is there's 4 levels to learning. And this is what we have to understand. There are 4 levels to learning. You have tactics is the lowest level. We all love tactics. Tactics was me pulling the lever. Tactics was me pressing the brake, pulling the lever, making the car move. Once the car moved, though, I needed strategies. I needed principles, and I needed to understand the essence of driving. This is how you get deeper and deeper into learning and comprehension. So you get your teenager. He's big enough now. So once you get 16, your brain is supposed to be at a point where you could take on this training and you put him behind the wheel. But as an adult, your child is not ready for everything. This is the reason why you moderately give them the car. You let them take it out to the grocery store. You might let them drive to school on a Friday. You build up these things naturally until they can become an adult and understand how to get on the freeway, how to drive on 271, how to get in and off the turnpike. So in life, we take for granted that everyone understands the comprehension skills and the cognitive ability skills to manage life. This is where Builders comes in. Responsibilities and the expectations that come with programming. Most programs start with goal setting. I'm a firm believer that goal setting is a horrible place to start. This might be a little controversial. You're asking a human being who is clearly a poor decision maker, bad with forecasting, does not understand responsibility because he's in your office or because he's in your program or because he's in your prison. You're asking them to set goals. They have no idea what goal they should set. So all the goals that are actually being set are the goals of the instructor and the group. It's group thing. You're just trying to say the same thing everybody else says. I just want to stay clean. I want to get a car when I get out. I just want to get a job. But you're talking to somebody that ain't never been on a job interview and never had a job. But they tell me they want to get a job. They don't understand why you need a job, the dignity and work, what it is to pay taxes. So What Builders does is it makes the person focus on themselves first. You have to become the person who can be trusted with freedom. You have to become the person who can be trusted with responsibility. You have to become the person who can be trusted with expectations. You have to become the person who understands community and family. So that's why the program is called Builders, Rebuilding Our Families and Communities as we rebuild ourselves. I want to share this quote. The highest form of intervention that anyone may offer in a given situation is not to add something to be, but rather become that which is desired. John Taylor Gatto. The whole program is based on that. We all know the problems. I was on a Zoom this morning with Miss Ronnie Berg and two other young ladies, and they broke down, all the barriers to reentry, all the treatments we can give them, all that's perfect. I am not criticizing anything that we're doing. I think Ohio has figured it out. The one thing that is missing is I sat on my rack and I would watch guys and I would hear about guys. So-and-so's back in jail, so-and-so OD. And you're like, dang, I was in here with the same guy. And I know I'm not special. So what's the difference between guys like me and guys that don't get it? Guys that go through the programs, it all seems like we're doing well, but the end result is not there. There are some missing links. And this is what Builders builds up. There are some missing links. You have to prepare that ground before you can plant the seed. The seed is good, the rain is good, the sun is good, all the care is there, but the ground hasn't been prepared. Coming from places like guys that go to prison usually come from, when you're coming from that mentality, that mind state, we have been in fight or flight our whole life. Our whole life has been survival. And when you're in survival mode all the time, your goals can only be low-level goals. It's great to say, I want to get a job, stay clean, finally get a car and get a place of my own. That sounds great, generic, but that's not really how life works. It's a lot more to that, because over the course of time, we all know there will be adversity. There will be hurdles. And a lot of those hurdles will come just because you live. Everybody has hurdles. People that have never been to prison, people that got degrees, there will always be a barrier. There will always be something that you have to overcome. Nothing worth having will be easy. The issue with those that have come out of prison, the issue with those that have had drug, alcohol abuse, is that we have become habitual in choosing to give up before we overcome. So how do you build up the resiliency and the bounce back ability to say, I made 4 phone calls today. Nobody called me back. I got the answering machine. The one number was wrong and nobody's trying to help me. It's a mindset switch. So what Builders offers is the ability to overcome the victim mind. So I'd like to ask a question. If you could, just type me a quick answer in the chat. Why are we here? Why did everybody click on? When you saw this go up, what was the reason that we were here? Why are we here? Okay, I'm seeing, I want to learn more about the journey, solutions for community. I had to receive more information to help my clients re-enter, finding purpose, knowledge, tired of men and women community going back to jail. Absolutely, leaving their children and families, community. All these are correct. There is no wrong answer. But to get to the meat of it, why we're really all here, we're here to save lives. That's what's at stake. Life and death is at stake. Because what is the cost of crime? What is the cost of addiction? What is the cost of a relapse? We say these words, but these words are loaded with so much value, with so much destruction, with so much hope, with so many promises behind it. So when you intervene in a young lady's life and she doesn't go back to using, and she works her way back into society and she gets her children back and she becomes a vital part of her family again and becomes a part of the community, what is that worth? Because now you're talking about generationally now. Now you're talking about kids that get to see their mother go through a rough spell and see the comeback story. What does that build in that child generationally to the next generation? That's what's at stake, is that the reclamation process is the saving of lives, not just that one life, but the saving of lives throughout the community. Builders came about through, it was a program when I was incarcerated called Dope for Dopes. We got to speak to children. They would bring schools in, like teenagers. Some of the teenagers, it might be a class of kids that want to go be prosecutors. The other class might be everybody just got a juvenile detention. It was a variety. They might bring in police officers, basketball teams, teachers. And we would give like 12 to 15 minutes of our story and, some type of direction as to how these kids or the teachers could better, navigate through the adversities of life and not come to prison. So one day I do my presentation. This was early on in my development. I wanted to save the world. I wanted to help. I started learning some things. And this young man, after we do the presentations, we break out in breakout sessions in groups in a circle. And this young man named Vic sat next to me, and he was shaking. And prior to us starting the circle, he was just shaking. He was staring at me, and he had tears in his eyes. And he asked me a question. He said, "I heard your story. I can relate to that. Like, that's my story. That's my story. I'm mad. How do I stop being angry? How do I stop being mad?" I welled up with tears in my eyes because I didn't know. I had no idea. I was a farce. I let that kid down. I don't know what happened to Vic, but all I know is I stepped back from the program after that, and I started looking at myself seriously, and I started doing this work. I started rebuilding myself from the inside out. I started studying child psychology. I started going for the missing links in my life. And build this program, every module in this program is something I had to learn from my actual life survival. This is not something that I just read in a book. This is something I had to implement in my own life so I could become the person that can be trusted with freedom. Today is a very important day. As we sit here and as I present builders, and we're going to have Mr. Rick Williams talk about TRY, which is an excellent program. And we have Relink as this source that is connecting us all. We're not just here to learn more. We're not just here because we want to help. We're here because we're saving lives. We're in the business of life saving. It's very important. It's the most paramount duty of mankind. We're here because we understand community. And when we can implement that as a team and we can come together like this is very powerful. This is how we change the world day by day. We're here to change the world. And I commend everybody that's on this call. I commend Relink. I commend TRY. And now I want to just share a little tidbit about myself and history with TRY. While I was incarcerated, due to the fact of me rebuilding myself and understanding how hard it would be to recreate my life when I didn't have a life. Because I really wasn't rehabilitating, I was habilitating without the re, because I wasn't living a life prior to being incarcerated. So I was doing my due diligence to reach out to everyone. I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio. So I reached out to Rick because I met Mr. Perry Clark at a reentry fair. So coming up to my parole hearing, I reached out and I said, I'll be being released, Lord willing, and I'm looking for a program. So Rick was open. Rick called back. Rick answered the phone. That's huge because I'm in prison. Okay. So when my family was calling him and reaching out, he was actually picking up the phone. Now, I had ended up not coming to TRY, but if I had needed TRY, they were there. And that's what we have to be. We have to be there. This work that we do is serious. And I know that all of you take your work seriously. I know that you're overworked, you're overloaded. I know that you're trying to make a phone call concerning another guy. You're 5 minutes late for your next appointment. And that guy's in the hallway. He thinks you're a bad social worker. He thinks you're doing a bad job because you're a little late. And now you get this reputation or you get this negativity coming towards you. This is some tireless work. This work leads to burnout. This work leads to stress. And what Builders is here for, what TRY is here for, is to help ease it. Not here to necessarily reinvent the wheel, but here to help everyone that wants to help save lives be able to do the work. And we do that as a team. So I pass to Mr. Rick Williams and TRY, and he's gonna have a great presentation for you guys. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Lewis. It was a great presentation you had there. A lot of good things, and very inspirational. So my name is Rick Williams, and I am the recovery manager for Truly Reaching You Ministries. Truly Reaching You is a faith-based reentry and recovery housing program that help men who are either coming from the inside, and you'll hear me say inside instead of prison, because it's just our culture here at Tri. So men who are either coming from the inside or coming from residential treatment, or who off the streets who are having issues with alcohol and or substance use disorders. But you don't necessarily have to have those disorders, because we believe that recovery is wide ranging. You can be recovering from life itself. You know, anything could have happened. You could have had, a fire, it burnt the house up in your family, or you were living in an apartment by yourself, and you need that hand up instead of a hand out. And Tri is here to try to help assist men in that area. Besides housing, we're also an employment skills training program. We have employment skills training in 4 different areas. We have it in construction of homes and commercial buildings. We have it in landscape of all type, lawn care. We have it in commercial cleaning, and we have what is called the CPT program, which is the Certified Production Technician program. It's a 4-module program, and when men start that first module, they'll have a job in one of the major manufacturers here in the Summit County area who we partnered up with. We have 6 homes with 28 beds. Let me see. It's faith-based, like I said again. The average stay in our program is like 9 months to a year. People have been known, you can transition out of our program before then within 6 months, or we've had people that stay in our program, especially because of COVID, for 4 years, right? We don't say that you have to leave. As long as you're moving forward, we'll walk right beside you as you do that, right? Tri also hires from within. So, and I'll get to that story because I came through the program 10 years ago, right? And now I'm the recovery manager here. So Tri also, we have 20 people on staff. 9 of those came through the program. 9 of those people came through the program. I'm gonna give you a little bit of my story. First of all, I grew up in a broken home, right? My mom I'm the oldest of 5. My mother had me when she was 16 years old, when she was pregnant with me when she was 15. She married my father at 16. They broke up when they were 18 or 19 years old. So my mother had me and my brother Dion at 19 years old. My mother had her issues with alcohol when we were growing up. We moved around a lot. My mother, she had got hurt in she worked in a press, she was a press operator. And when she was like 19 and her finger got smashed and she didn't work again from there, but truthfully, it was more of her alcohol that got in the way than anything after that. So my mom was on welfare all that time. So growing up, we were the kids that a lot of people made fun of, didn't have clothes, didn't have, all of this stuff, had, grew up roaches and all the rest of that, So school, I really didn't like too much. I love playing sports, but, but when you get to high school, that's part of, going to school is part of playing those sports. And if, getting talked about and all of those things, I didn't like it. So I got in a lot of fights because of people, talking, bad, and I got in a lot of trouble. Matter of fact, I got in from 7th, 8th, and 9th, the beginning of 9th grade, I got in 7 fights in school during that period of time. So when I got to the 9th grade, they kicked me out of that school, wanted me to go to another, and I ended up dropping out. The highest grade I completed was the 8th grade, right? That was the highest grade I completed. Good thing though, I was intelligent, so I'm up fast forward at 19, I was introduced to crack cocaine, and it just took off from there. I mean, you got to think, in the 80s, we didn't know what we were getting into. It wasn't no say no. It was just try this new thing, marijuana, let's try this, and we didn't know until it was too late. So from 19 to 30, I'm in and out of prison, inside. I'm in and out of the inside for 2 years here, 3 years there. I ended up doing, fast forward, I ended up doing, going in 4 times to state inside. And then the last time I went to community based facility, correction facility, CDCF. Each time I came out, it was, you have those, what is called stages of change, right? And each time I came out, it was more, I would say, okay, I want to do change, but change was not really on my mind. I was still doing a lot of the things inside, not to crack, but playing cards, the lifestyle, still had that lifestyle, which when you're in the inside, Lewis, was talking about earlier, he can look on his bunk and see a lot of the people that still had that same culture and that same lifestyle, playing the cards, cussing, fighting, trying to make deals, all of those things you still see when you're in the inside. And you can almost tell the people who are going to get out and do what they say they're going to do and the people that are not, because you start distancing yourself from that culture when you're in the inside. You start, because it starts in there, right? That's where it starts. It don't start when you get out here. It starts in there, and you have to, and it's a total life change. You have to be willing to change everything. If you're not willing to change anything, more likely it's not going to work for you. And that takes it takes humility, but it also takes courage, because it takes courage to step into something new and stretch yourself into things that's going to make you uncomfortable. So I towards the end, when I was like 30 years old, I quit using crack, but all of those charges that I had were drug trafficking charges. But the last, when that was to basically to support my habit until the last one. When I was 30, I quit using and I started just selling. And that's when I met my ex-wife, and me and her got together. But I had a pending drug trafficking. I ended up getting a drug trafficking charge during that time. So I ended up going in to the inside, got caught, went to the inside, came back out, and again, did not have a program set, right, when I came out. And I end up relapsing, right? It's something about going to the inside too that changes the way you think about things, or can bring back stuff, because I hadn't been in so long. So it started flooding the old behavior back. So when I got out, I ended up relapsing. And during that period of relapse, I'll end up losing basically everything. Addiction is progressive. And when after you stop and you use again, it's like you've never stopped, and it comes back, 7 times worse, if you ask me. So I end up destroying my family, end up, finally working and destroyed that. Had a great job, was in the union in that job, and I destroyed all of that. And during that process of being separated from my wife, and then my mother talking to me and telling me I needed to do something, I end up coming across the TRI program, and I end up getting in this program. And the first time I was in the program, I was doing it for them. I wasn't doing it for me. I was doing it for them. And, for my kids, for my, my ex-wife, and for my mom, because they were getting on my nerve about it. And as soon as I get to the program, first thing I want is a job, right? I tell that to Perry Clark, the founder of TRI. He did my interview. I'm like, when can I get to work, right? And not understanding, like Lewis said, there's a lot of things that come before a job. I've seen so many, like he said, so many assessments or treatment plans, and you set these goals, and it's a job on there. But you're talking to people who haven't had a job in so long. You're also talking to people who money is a trigger, right? So I don't even know what to do with money. Every time I get money, I go get high. So you're telling me to go get a job and get this big check for $1,000, and you think it's going to be okay, right? Because that's what society tells us, to get a job, right? You get a job, pay your taxes, you know what I mean? But if you don't know how to work, if you haven't changed that behavior yet, right? Because that takes time and consistency. And one thing about Try, when you come here, you have a 90-day period before you can even get a job, right? Before that, you're doing employment skills training, right? You start taking money out the equation, right? And then after that, you have what is just called a stipend, right? And it's only like $20, but the thing is, all your needs are met. That was another thing. When I changed, I understood the difference between what I needed and what I wanted, right? If I'm at a place where all my needs are met, Try, right? If anyone knows about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Those basic needs I had were met, right? Food, water, all that, shelter, safety, right? Then I was in a place where I could build relationships, different relationships than I had before. But again, it took that willingness to be humble, right? Open-mindedness, right? The courage to step into change, because it's we can be so when growing up, I grew up around I'll say players, pimps, and hustlers, right? When you grow up around that culture right there, you can get very comfortable in that culture, right? You got people that, you got a lot of these young men who've been out here selling dope, and they drive in these big cars and they making thousands a week. But you got to get them to change the way they think about everything, right? About the world around them, about themselves, right? And then it's teaching a young person patience also, because this has been, it's not been a long road. It's been a long road. It hasn't been a quick one, right? But it's very much worth it because I've been out here. So anyway, I get to the Try program, and the first time I leave, I relapse, get a paycheck real quick, leave, right? Go back out, worse than ever. I end up coming back like a year later. But when I came back with my eyes wide open. I came out where, I took that look in the mirror and didn't recognize who I was. And it was a good thing, because I was empty. And by me being empty, I was able to fill myself up with new things, right? So I come to the program. I didn't care how long the program took, right? I didn't work for a year, for a whole year. I did not work. Nope. I went to school though. I was the first person, because I signed up for Stark State before I went, right? I got my GED when I was in the inside the first time. All I had to do was take the test. I said I ain't bragging, but I was pretty intelligent. So the only thing I had, when you go in, Lewis, they give you all of those books, right? And then you take a test and you see who has what book. When I had that Brown, they say, when you get there, just take the test, right? So I took the test when I got to London and passed it. So I end up signing up for Stark State. Try let me. I was the first person to ever let do it, because again, it's money is a trigger, and you have money left over from grants and all of that. They give you a card, especially Stark State, because Stark State is one of the cheapest schools around. So you have a lot left. So I ended up going to Stark State. I graduated from Stark State with my associates in 2016. I walked across the stage in 17. From there, I went to Indiana Wesleyan, and I got my bachelor's degree earlier this year in June in addiction counseling also. A CDCA. I'm a peer support, and I've went from being a peer support and housing coordinator to housing manager and upper management here at Try, senior management. All of that through the grace of God, but through this Try program and being, like I said, open-minded, having a willingness to change. It's a total lifestyle change. We can have those, the tools, like Lewis said, are out here, right? But it starts inside. If we can get inside a man or a woman's heart and their mind while they're in the inside, to say it may, you have to be patient, but it will work out. It will work out. Just be patient. You may not, you may not make what you think you want to make right now, but that's a want again. You know what I mean? It's the needs. If they can get to a place where they're safe, like a place like here at Tri, where they're safe and they understand the fact that all your needs are taken care of. Now it's a change, and now it's time for you to grow. And you got to change the people, places, and things. I got family members that I don't go around. It is what it is. I don't go around them. They're unhealthy for me to be around. I don't go around any of the old so-called friends that I had. They could come into my world and I'll embrace them. If they're coming here because they want to get sober, if they come in here because they want to change, I love it. And I got their back. I will walk with them, through the whole thing. But, they have to understand it's discipline in this also. Certain things you can't do. Try is, like I said, help me tremendously. I think, like Lewis said, all of these resources are out here. Is getting the people to accept them. And again, that comes with humility. It's sometimes it's harder for people who are younger because, they still have that mindset of immortality. They think, I got tomorrow to do everything until they wake up and, like me, and you're 45, 6 years old and you're doing it, but it's never too late. It's never too late to do it. The blessings, besides a lot of people, talk about like housing for people coming out and how hard it is for people who have a record to get housing and to rent something. All of that here at Tri, our goal, is to change one man at a time, but also for our men to become homeowners. I just purchased my home earlier this year. Got other people in our program who have came before me who have done the same thing. So then you ain't got to worry about if somebody, gonna rent to you because you have your own. So so many, ways, so much help out here, but it's a willingness to accept it, I think. So I think we should try to get our men and women to be more open-minded. Not letting the shame of their past define them. Understanding that that go get a job right off the rip is, that Lewis, you're right. That's something that bothers me also, because you're talking about people that don't even have work ethics. I'm a person that, when I was in a life, I went to sleep when I wanted to, and I stayed up as late as I wanted to, right? So you got people, these young men or women, especially young men, they start selling dope at 13 years old, doing that, staying up long as they want, going to sleep when they want, right? And all of a sudden you want these people to start working, right? Without even don't know the behavior or have been in that behavior. It's they call neuroplasticity, right? It's just the way our minds work. Our minds, are set to learn and do things in one pattern unless that pattern is broken. So it's a learned behavior, and that learned behavior has to be changed. And that's the main reason why Tri does the employment skills training first. It's not just about the training, it's about getting up every morning, right? And going in and put in a day's work, and if you got appointments in between there, we take you off the training site, take you to the doctor's office, bring you right back to the training site, because that's what we do, correct? We all leave our job, go to see the dentist or the doctor, and we come back right back to work, right? So we do those same things with them, and it's getting them prepared for their next stages in life. Also, growing up the way I grew up, it's things like financials that I didn't know didn't know how to handle. I used to give my ex-wife the money and let her pay all the bills, right? Right? She'd get on there with her professional voice that would change, and and I let her do all of that, But when I had to learn to start doing those things, as becoming a homeowner, I gotta make all of those calls, right? And that's one of the things we teach the men coming into our program. I'm gonna sit right here with you while you make this call. You're gonna call your doctor. You're gonna call, to pay your back taxes. You're gonna call to about your driver's license and your fines. And we let them make the call, so that get them prepared for when they're out on their own, that they have, got over those barriers, mental barriers that stop us from making those type of calls, because we're not used to it. And, it makes us very, very uncomfortable. Yeah, just, everybody, think about it. Think who when a person is, number one, understand that people can change. I want you guys to really understand that. You got people that's in inside can change. They can change. It's not, never too late. We were not people to throw to the wayside. We are sons and daughters and fathers and mothers, and I restored my relationship with my children. They watched me walk across the stage both times, right? All three of them. They went to Indiana with me the last one, and that was one of the best days, weeks of my life, was having them with me. And my sisters, and becoming a great example of my family of how a person can change. And because I was written off for a while, and by the grace of God, all of that has changed. And truly reaching you, God worked through truly reaching you, because I'm putting God in everything I say. I'm telling you now, you want to hear the name of Jesus, should have came out here today. That's where all things come for me. I'm going to hand it back over to Rachel. Thank everyone. Thank you, Rachel, Lewis, and Bill over here. Thank you, guys. It's been great. Any questions? Free to answer.
One thing that I really was able to pick up on when I met with both of you prior to this webinar is I know some of the things that you were talking about as far as self-esteem, job readiness skills, time management, being able to handle money management are all important things to build up yourself before you can go out and successfully have a job and meet some of those eventual goals. So I appreciated that in both of your programs and both of your stories, it was talking about how those things are important to build on first. We did have a question of someone was asking, what is the referral process of both of the programs? And if anyone else has any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. We'd love to answer.
Okay. Well, for me, I would have to do a consultation with you first, because reentry is so, I deal with organizations, with those that serve those offenders getting out, or with those as housing offenders. Reentry is so different. You have 5 people, did 5 years, all drug addiction. But one is a 36-year-old woman with 2 kids that had a marriage. The other one was 19 when they got arrested, never been married, never owned a home, never worked a job. The other one so the variation is so there. So I would have to do a consultation. You call me at 440-836-2066 or email me with your name, your information at builders.booksandbruises@gmail.com. And we have to sit down and make sure I can help you, that we're the right fit for each other to be able to help you. Because what I do is a little different than what other people do. You know, I deal with the unlocking those doors that are closed, dealing with the person, the psyche of the person, being the person that can, like Rick was saying, get up every morning, go to a job, and understand that this job is not who you are. Your job is not your identity. I think that's a mistake. Your job is not your identity. Right now, if I offered everybody, I'm gonna double your salary, give you 2 weeks paid vacation, I got a job for you, who's coming? The majority of the call. You don't even know what it is yet. I'm gonna double your salary, get 2 weeks paid vacation. Who's coming? You're coming. No matter what I was gonna have you do. So your job is not your identity. Your identity is tied to your ability to overcome and become the person that you're purposed to be, because you're always gonna have to overcome. So yeah, it had to be a consultation. We would talk first, and that would be something that would be scheduled and discussed. So
I put in Try's phone number and the extension for David Lemon on the chat, inside the chat, or you have my email. And if anybody needs help, they can give us just give me a call, or David a call, or give me an email. He'll set it up where he'll put it on my schedule for an interview.
We have another question. Maybe I could start with you, Rick, and then move to Lewis. It said, how do you help the young men to get over the mental barriers, depending upon the women in their life, to make the phone calls and schedule appointments, especially mom?
Right. Someone put it in there, it's about a renewing of the mind. Yeah, and it is. It's getting encourage them, number one, and it starts by practice. Even the younger men who have not made it through our program, they still took something from it about things that you need to do as an adult, and things you need to learn. And I think a lot of times it has to be men teaching men. So just what it is. It has to be other men showing younger men that these things are possible, and understanding and getting them to respect our change and what happened to us, and how it's better for them to do it now than to wait until they're our age and then do it. You got a lot of younger people don't even know their potential. And know their giftings, or how smart, because they weren't told. You can, most of them are excellent at math. They can tell you how to weigh something up, and all the weights and all of that off the top of their head. How many ounces is it? But anyway, to use those talents in other ways, and understand that their lives are important. That's one. Your life is important. You're going to waste it out there. There's nothing out there for you but death, or going to the penitentiary or the inside. Sorry, we're going there. Those are the only two things that's going to happen, and getting them to understand that their self-worth. Also. Yep.
okay, for me, that's a great question. One of my modules is called Toxic Masculinity. It's something that I came across that helped me in my life, dealing with gender roles, how we see ourselves as men, how we see ourselves as women. Toxic masculinity affects our society. So that module right there is how I would really address that. The understanding, as Rick was saying, it's an identity thing. We have an identity crisis. All barriers, all adversity is mental health. Everyone deals with what you have on one side versus what you want, who you are versus what you want, who you want to be. So you have a man that does not know how to make those phone calls, does not know how to balance a checkbook, does not know how to forecast his paycheck and realize I can't afford to buy the new Jordan 4s because I'm only making $800 every 2 weeks. you know, so I can't spend 2/3 of my paycheck on tennis shoes. So understanding all those things comes with training. And in toxic masculinity, we deal with the root of, once again, going back to me trying to drive. I saw the tactics. We emulate what we see. So this machoism in manhood, that's a woman's job, or this is a male's role. All those things have to be worked out. You know, you got to work out and deal with the truth. If we can't deal with the truth, then we can never get to the solution. So I deal with debunking all those things, and then we start building a foundation of understanding time management, understanding the structure of freedom and decision making going hand in hand, and financial literacy, things of that nature. So it would start for me with toxic masculinity, because our society suffers from that, and a misconception of gender roles.
I was looking on here to see if we had any more questions. For both of you, one question I think I had was, do you think in returning to, I know that Rick touched on this a little bit about not being around some people in his family who are toxic, but what is, for both of your perspectives, people returning to the same environment, returning to the same households with maybe mom, same friends, same neighborhoods? What is your perspective on that?
Like I touched on earlier, your change has to be the most important thing, more than anything. You know, my change has to, you know, I have a perspective on how I do things, you know, and it works for me, right? Things of importance. My relationship with God is more important than anything, right? And then my health, then my job, right? Then my children, right? Because without any of those top things, I can't take care of my children, right? So it's basically, and I'm gonna go to scripture in Psalms. It says, Psalms 23 talks about how my cup runneth over, right? When I'm filled, the blessings flow over to everybody around me and my family, right? So to keep me healthy, I can't be around toxicity, right? I got to keep me healthy. So my holistic, my change, my life, my recovery is the most important thing right there. I have to make sure that stays in balance. I know when, you know, you talk about self-care, I make sure I do that. Self-care, I know when I'm feeling irritable and something is not right, so I make sure I handle those things, right? I try to keep myself balanced. And a lot of that is, you know, I'm sorry to say it this way, but you can get around people that are, to me, are not just negative, but to me, they're like spiritual vampires. You know what I mean? They drain me, you know, so I don't put myself around people that drain me like that. And it could be family. It doesn't make a difference who it is. It really doesn't, you know, because if I'm not healthy, you know, I've seen, and my family's seen the result of that, and they don't want to see that, you know. So yeah.
For me, I am an advocate of new people, places, and things. We just got to be honest. When you make that, when you truthful or honest about your life, if you were brought to prison, the criminal justice system, homelessness, whatever your situation is, and you're at the point where you're going through a program such as TRI, or you're taking courses such as Builders, you clearly had dysfunction in your social setting. So why on earth would you go get this medicine and then go back to where the sickness is and think this is going to work out? It never does. I used to tell guys I'd be helping them make their reentry plans, and I'm going to live with my girl, shack up with her, or going back to my wife, or I'm going to live with my mom. I'm like, man, you 38 now. You can't go live with your mom. Your mom is a grown woman and you a grown man. You can't go back to mommy. You will never go wrong doing it on your own. You will never go wrong separating, because what Rick is describing is what I call in my course, healthy selfishness. A healthy amount, I got this from Earl Nightingale. It's a healthy selfishness. It's basically when you're on an airplane and there's an emergency and the little oxygen mask fall down, what do they always tell you? Put the mask on yourself first, because being a hero, the machoism, I can make it, you've been down 7 years, but you're gonna go home and set your house straight, be the man of the house. You ain't paying no bills. You don't even know what you're doing. So stop having these false delusions that you can go help somebody, you can go do something when you haven't gotten yourself together. And it's a process. I've been out for 1 year and 1 month, and it's been a process. You know, I finally got my own space. Got a little two-bedroom, not my own house, but I'm ready. I got my own space. It's a process to this thing. I can't go back as much as I want to and be the man I want to be to my nephews. If I do it now, I'm gonna half-ass it. I'm gonna fail. I'm gonna mess up, and we all gonna fall. It might take another year before I can be in that position. And being honest about where you at, and being honest about what you were doing when you left the streets or when you got into this situation, because a lot of times it's just dishonesty with ourselves. We lie to ourselves. Like, we was doing all this great job. You loved your kids so much. No, you didn't. You was out getting high. So when you was out getting high, they was eating. So now that you sober, they don't need you really. They need you to get yourself together. So then you can win them back to you because you're consistent now. Not because you've been out 8 months. I'm clean for 8 months. Now I'm your daddy again. Go get yourself together, man. Be consistent so they can love you again. They can trust you. So I'm a firm believer of separation. Go to another city, another state, another town, get yourself together, and then come back. The other thing is the people that you know need you to be that same person so they feel comfortable. I repeat, the people that you know, your family, your loved ones, need you to be the same person so they feel comfortable. What do I mean? It's not so much that they are on purpose, your mom wants you to get high again. But see, your mother then got in the habit of you being her little baby, and you might steal $50 out of her purse, and she'll put an extra 50 in there for you, and she know you're gonna take the car and not bring it back, and all these things. It becomes a habit. It sounds sick, but it's real. It becomes this habit. They need you to be the fella. They need you to be the guy that can talk about it. Oh, you know what Lewis did again? They say he arrested again. Yep, you know, that's what he does. They need that because it's part of who they have become. So it's hard to be this new person around them now, because first thing I do is throw up your face. Oh, well, I remember when you used to do so-and-so. I remember when you used to do so-and-so. So, and so-and-so, the new people, the old people gonna want you to do the old stuff, because most people don't change. So if you've changed, you need to go to a changed environment, become strong in that environment, then be very careful who you let into that new kingdom. Be very careful and very selective with that healthy selfishness.
Thank you.
Say something real quick. I like to say, choose your tribe. You know, choose your tribe. Yeah, and it ends up being another one. One thing Lewis was talking about was roles, and how people's family roles and family structure, how their roles are changed. When you change, then the way they feel and their role ends up changing, because now you don't have to depend on them, and they're so used to you depending on them, and you become independent and have those, independent thoughts that it makes them very uncomfortable with who you are now. So
thank you both so much for presenting today and just bringing such valuable information. If you'd like to get in contact with either of them, Rick's email is rick@trulyreachingyou.com, and Lewis's email is builders.booksforbruises@gmail.com, and you can ask them any further questions that you might have, or you can contact them about their programs. Our next webinar is going to be on familial trafficking. We're doing a 3-part webinar. So we're doing one in November, December, and in January. And it's going to be on November 21st at 2 o'clock. If you know anybody who would like to attend and learn more about that. And throughout the series, we are going to have some survivors sharing as well. We did apply for CEUs for that one, but we're waiting to hear back if we got them. So we'd be happy to let you know about that. But thank you everyone today for joining us. And thank you to both of our presenters. We appreciate it so much for your time. Have a good day.